think we're entering a new renaissance of Taiwanese animation. So there really is a lot of great work that's being done. GO GIWAS is a great example of both I think the potential, but also the challenges of Taiwanese animation. This is Vic Wong and his team, who have been working on this for a while, and what they found is that it's combining Taiwanese local elements with STEM learning, with STEAM learning, science, technology, English, arts, and math. Great concept. The problem is, and Vic said, whenever he goes overseas to like Annecy or to the Cannes festival market to try to sell this into other territories, other parts of the world, all they see, they go, oh, it's about Indians, right? Or like, no, it's not Indian, Taiwan indigenous people. Oh, okay, whatever. They don't give it any time to dive into the meat, right, of what's there in terms of the content. The STEAM learning, the edutainment, the educational learning that's built in, it's got really good DNA, it's got really good structure, really good storytelling, but people look at it and say, too local, right? We need something more international. And I may have mentioned this before in this class, I've mentioned in others, that this is the biggest challenge right now for Taiwanese content creators, is that you have this, so you see actually this project here, Hidden in the Peach Blossom Garden, is a project that my wife and I and our team have been developing. And so we were in the Taipei Cinema program at Annecy last year. But every time, I told you this story about me pitching, and one was questioning my China background. But what we found is that any time we were in a situation where our content was being evaluated, you have people saying like, oh, this is good, but we need more local elements. We need more Taiwanese local elements. But then when I would talk to people in the West, like a distributor at Netflix or at HBO, they say, this is good, make it more international. And this is a conversation I had with creators at the Taika Content Fest this year. Let me see if I can find that. And the pitches that were going on were quite good, but everybody was saying, it was hilarious, like, I think they were coached to say it, like, Taiwan local elements, and of course we'll have Taiwan local elements, and here's our Taiwan local elements, and hey, did I mention we have Taiwan local elements? Like over and over and over, to the point where the Taiwanese people in the audience started laughing about it, because it was just like, okay, we got it, Taiwan elements, move on. And because it's government funding, you kind of have to say this, right? I mean, the government doesn't care about a return on investment. When you are looking for investors, most governments, if they support animation, they don't care about how much money you make back. They care that it's a cultural product that represents the country, that represents the culture, that represents what they want to project to the world. Every country that funds animation, whether it's France, China, Taiwan, has this in mind. So you have to play that game. The problem is, if it's too local, you can't sell it to the rest of the world. And Taiwan is such a small market that if it's only appealing to Taiwan, that's fine, that's cool. But you better structure your budget so that it fits, because if you have a huge budget and then your market is this small, you're not going to make your money back, and you're not going to make another film or another TV series. You'll do one and then you're done, you're finished. There are places in the world, China's a good example, where like historically across hundreds of thousands of years, China has gone through these periods of like opening itself to the world and then closing itself off from the world. And then opening itself to the world, and then closing itself off from the world. And it's big enough, China's big enough, it's got like, what, 20% of the people in the world, that it can actually, like they're doing it now, they're closing themselves off from the world. All right, we're just gonna be in here doing our stuff, and they're still making trouble here and there, of course. But in terms of business, right, they've closed themselves off, and they can do it. If you're smaller, if you are Taiwan, if you're Singapore, if you're Malaysia, if you're Thailand, right? Even in Europe, any of those countries, France by themselves, not a huge market. Germany by itself, bigger than France, but still, the reason that you have so many co-productions in Europe is they need to have co-productions, right? All of Europe is sort of like the United States. The United States has all those different states, but at the federal level, it's one fairly decent sized market as a country, which also includes Canada, right, North America. In Europe, the co-productions are a necessity. If you're only going to do something for France, or you're only going to do something for Portugal, you need to think about that from the very beginning. All right, this is a Portugal-only production, so we better make sure we have a Portugal-only budget that fits that, otherwise we're dead. And so Taiwan is the same way. And again, I'm not saying one is right or wrong, but this is something to think about. If you are going to make your content super local, you need to make sure that your budget, your expectations fit that, right? Little Hilly, which I showed at the very beginning, the image of, I love it. It's a great film. It actually has a pretty good following on film festival circuits around the world, but it's not a moneymaker. You don't make money off of film festivals. But it's very well respected artistically and also thematically for what it's trying to express. So I do know creators here in Taiwan, friends of mine, who play this game pretty well, where they can pitch in a way that gets the seed funding for development and like local elements, local elements, local elements. And then when they go out to talk to Disney Asia Pacific Originals for streaming or HBO Max or Netflix, they can talk about the international aspect and make sure that it also has the look and feel of that. So I don't want to get too complicated or businessy or political here, but it's something you will face if you're not already facing it, is how do you manage differing expectations? Okay, to get started, this person who's going to give me this money wants this, but then to sell it, this person who has the distribution control wants that. So how do I manage both of these in a way that gets the project done and keeps everything balanced, but also doesn't piss anybody off? So in our case, this is actually why we didn't apply for funding here anymore. I'm lucky enough, we have enough money that we can self-fund our own development, we can self-fund our own demos, that's fine. You guys also are lucky because your students, if you're smart, your student film, your student project that you do here will be like your demo for an idea that you have for a TV series or for a film that hopefully you're thinking about going global with. Why not? At CalArts, students do this all the time. CalArts thesis films, they don't even care about their grades. Most of CalArts students don't even care about graduating. They're like sports players, like getting hired to play in the NBA out of high school. When they have the producers show every year and they're showing their student films, what they're hoping for is that a producer or an executive who's watching will say, hey, we'd love to give you a show at Disney Plus, and take them in to do that, and they just quit school. They don't even graduate in some cases. So it's a different way of thinking, I know, perhaps, than what you're used to, but it's something that in terms of the future potential, I believe is important. I hope what I'm saying is making some kind of sense, I don't know. This is actually, I think, the best time possible to be from Taiwan doing animation. I'm not just saying this to be cute, I really believe it. The attention that's being paid now on Southeast Asia, given what's happened in China, so in China, two things, right? The pandemic, but also the media clampdown on basically any kind of freedom of expression, and really trying to get rid of Western influences in education, in media, has been, it's not a good thing at all, but it's caused a shift in attention. So people who used to be there, like me, aren't there anymore. People who are running studios, producers, etc., who were doing co-production projects with China aren't doing them anymore. It's not even because they have any ethical objection. It's just impossible, like logistically, to move money back and forth, to get people. How are you going to do a project with a country where everybody's locked in their homes, right? It's just logistically impossible. Again, I'm not trying to be funny. This is real issue. So when I do consulting now for my friends in the LA, producers, etc., most of them, their biggest question is, how do I get out of China? I mean, they're not in China, they're in Los Angeles, but how do I move my movie from China to, like, you know, what's going on in Taiwan? So you're in Taiwan, yeah, I'm here. So tell me, what's up? How's it going? Like, They're looking at Southeast Asia, Singapore, Malaysia, Thailand, Vietnam. The South China Sea is not only hot militarily or politically, it's also hot content-wise. Previously, studios were just trying to look at selling content into Asia, and Southeast Asia was not even considered that important. Southeast Asia was considered like an afterthought. Like everybody's looking at China, like, oh, it's so big, there's so many people, that's great. And they were also looking at established areas like Japan, South Korea, where you had some established relationship. And oh yeah, Southeast Asia, all those other little countries, even though they're not so little. Like Indonesia, right, is like the 4th largest country in the world, population-wise, I believe. I often forget that, but there's like what? China, India, US, and Indonesia. But Southeast Asia has been an afterthought. Now, everybody's focused on, like, okay, China, whatever with that. Okay, hey, what's going on down here? And I get I'm kind of oversimplifying, but it's happening not only to market content into Southeast Asia, but as you guys know, you see what's happening with Netflix and the streamers, they're realizing, oh, we actually can take some of the cool content that's being created in Southeast Asia and show it on our streaming service. And because they use algorithms that can target niche markets very tightly, like small groups of viewers, relatively small groups of viewers, they can be profitable on a show that actually doesn't have a huge viewership, but they can find the viewers who want to watch it. They can find the audience, as you would say. So this is really an opportunity for Taiwan to take advantage of that. Singapore is racing ahead with it. I keep mentioning Thailand because Thailand is very aggressive now. The king of Thailand has sort of, it's funny he's paying so much attention to animation, it's kind of cute, but has issued pretty much a decree that we want to export our cultural IP, our soft power to the rest of the world. And they're kind of playing all sources. They're still doing business with China, they're doing business with the Western streamers, they're everywhere. They're also here in Taiwan, talking to people as well. So I think Taiwan, in my opinion, needs to be as smart and aggressive as that. I think that the government needs to stop worrying so much about local elements and just let people do original work. Anything you do will be Taiwanese. There's no way you can make something. If you're making, really, come on. If you're making something that's coming from your heart and soul and your experience and you're Taiwanese, it's gonna be Taiwanese, but not in some old-fashioned way. It's gonna be like Taiwanese in the most modern, contemporary way possible. I firmly believe that. You guys would not mistake me for a second as being Taiwanese, right? Not in the slightest, right? I've been here for a while. I've been living in Asia for, God, what? 15 years. I'm still super American. I always will be. It's in my DNA. The same thing with you guys. But when you combine that DNA with your more cosmopolitan view of the world, that's where you truly get something, I believe, which is local, but also international. But in a real way, right? In a real, authentic way, as opposed to trying to like mush together, hey, we used indigenous plants in our show, or we have like a local animal here. We've got the black bear with the stripe, right? It doesn't matter, really. It's more about how people think and what Taiwanese people are concerned about, right? And how what you're concerned about is consistent with what other people are concerned about. Ultimately, most people are concerned about the same things, right? Finding happiness, finding love, doing something meaningful with their lives, thinking about what's going to happen in the future, family, etc. These are pretty common themes among any people in any part of the world. So, I think the success of what people like Miyazaki have done and others, where they've done something which is, like in Miyazaki's case, very Japanese, but also has found an audience outside in the rest of the world. I think the same thing is possible here. That's my little speech. So, enough from the white guy talking about Taiwanese stuff. Any of you guys have anything you want to say about this? Questions or comments or corrections on anything that I said so far? Anybody? I just want to say this as a sign of hope, I guess. I know that things in Taiwan right now are kind of stressful, and many people, I've talked to students who like shit, like what's going to happen like in the future? Like I'm only 20, I'm probably going to live for another maybe 80 years, hopefully. And like what's going to happen in 80 years? Like forget about 5 years or 10 years. Like where are things going to go? And especially with all the pressures that Taiwan is under from different directions, particularly one direction. So I think, again, who the hell knows? But I think that you can see right now, a lot of people are paying attention not only to Southeast Asia, but also to Taiwan. So Taiwan's under the spotlight. So this is really time to do something that keeps that attention. So much the same way that TSMC, the chip manufacturer, like the one thing I think right now which is saving Taiwan's best shield is that chip manufacturing, because the world needs it. So the world is not going to let that get screwed up, because like 80% of the stuff in the world, air conditioners, cars, your phone, right, need those chips. Content can be the same. The more, this is my word of encouragement to you guys as content creators. The more you can create content, if Taiwan could become like South Korea, right? With South Korea with K-pop, with things like Squid Game, television shows and series that are popular around the world, not just in Asia now, but like my mom is watching stuff. My 82-year-old white mother is watching. She watched one Squid Game and she said, oh, it's cool, but too violent, like she's eating. But the cool thing is that people have that awareness and that connection, and I think that's the key to survival, is people knowing who you are, people appreciating and needing what you do, and then willing to stand together with you to defend that and keep that going. So it may sound silly that animation can be a part of that, but it's not at all. If you've seen throughout the world, rock and roll music from the UK and the United States, from Western countries, was used as a weapon of sorts against maybe less free societies to kind of show like a vibrancy and a freedom that was making a statement. And I think animation can do the same thing. So I'll leave it there. It's too much preaching from me. But I think I'll let you guys out early. Can somebody help me do the attendance, and then I'll let you guys go. Let me pick a victim. Do you want to be my victim?